They say every town's got its ghost story, right? Something people trot out at campfires or to spook the newcomers. Around here, in White Bluff, Tennessee, it's not just a story. It's something we live with. The White Bluff Screamer. Folks don't talk about it much, not seriously anyway. But me, I've got a reason to believe. So I'm from Tennessee, born and raised not far from White Bluff. It is a small, quiet town. One of those places where people know your business before you do. Growing up, we'd hear these stories about the Screamer. Some said it was a ghost, others swore it was a wild animal, but whatever it was, the screams were real. They'd echo through the woods at night, long and loud, and they weren't the kind of noises you could chalk up to coyotes or owls. These screams had feeling, anger, grief. I always figured it was just some old wives' tale meant to keep kids from wandering into the woods. And yeah, it worked on me when I was a kid. But as I got older, I stopped believing that kind of nonsense. Until last year. It all started when my buddy Travis dared me to spend a night out by the old hollow near Montgomery Bell State Park. He said people still reported hearing the Screamer out there. I laughed it off, told him he was full of it. But Travis called me a chicken. You know how it is, can't let your pride take a hit like that. So I told him, fine, I'll do it. One night in the woods, and when I come back alive, you owe me a case of beer. Next thing I know, I'm packing a tent and a flashlight, heading out to the hollow alone. It was a clear night, and I figured I'd just sit by the fire, drink a little whiskey, and maybe scare myself into hearing something that wasn't there. Easy. The first few hours weren't bad. The woods were peaceful. Almost too quiet. I kept telling myself that the quiet was normal, but there was this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like I was being watched. Every time the wind rustled the branches, I'd turn my head, half expecting to see something. But there was nothing, just trees and shadows. Around midnight, though, things started to change. I heard this sound. A low, guttural growl, faint but unmistakable. It didn't sound like any animal I knew, and trust me, I know my way around the woods. Then the first scream tore through the air. It was high-pitched and raw, like a woman's scream, but worse. It wasn't just a sound. It hit me in the chest. Made my hair stand on end. It wasn't coming from one spot, either. It bounced off the trees, moving like it was surrounding me. I tried to convince myself it was a fox or a bobcat. But deep down, I knew better. That's when I saw it, or part of it at least. Out in the distance, just beyond the firelight, something moved. It was pale, almost glowing, with a shape that was more mist than solid. And its eyes, they were the worst part. They glowed like embers, locking onto me, even from that distance. The thing let out another scream, and I swear to God, I felt it in my bones. I wanted to run, but my legs were locked up. Every survival instinct was screaming at me to move, but I just couldn't. And then it stepped closer. The mist cleared, and I saw it. Gaunt, almost skeletal, with long clawed limbs and a face twisted in agony. I don't know what it was, but it sure as hell wasn't human. It finally broke me. I grabbed my flashlight and bolted, not caring where I was going as long as it was away from that thing. The forest felt alive, like it was trying to stop me. Branches snagged at my clothes, roots seemed to trip me up on purpose, and all the while, I could hear the screamer behind me. Its wails growing louder. I swear it wasn't chasing me to kill me, it was hurting me somewhere. Eventually, I stumbled into a clearing. For a moment, I thought I was safe. Then, I saw what the screamer had led me to. There were bones, animal and human, scattered across the ground. The remains were picked clean, but they weren't random. They were arranged in patterns, almost like they meant something, and then the screamer stepped into the clearing. It let out the loudest, most soul-piercing wail I had ever heard, and for a second, everything went black. When I came to, I was lying at the edge of the woods, right by my truck. The sun was just starting to rise, and there was no sign of the screamer. I drove straight home, didn't stop for anything. I didn't tell Travis what happened, didn't tell anyone for weeks. When I finally worked up the nerve to go back to the hollow in the daylight, there was nothing there. No bones, no patterns, just an empty clearing. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can still hear those screams. And if you ever find yourself near White Bluff, do yourself a favor. Stay out of the woods. Some things are better left alone.